Okay, so I took the time to smooth away the seam from the outside, and I'm ready to move on to the next step. So if I refer back to the vessel requirements that I mentioned earlier, the next part is going to be to create a lid piece that has a key. And the reason why I'm having you do it this way is in order to make your form, it needs that key piece so the lid doesn't slide off. And it took me a lot of trial and error to learn that. This is, I'll show you a few examples as how I learned from that. So this one here is one that I made. So this is just gonna show you a little flash forward of what's gonna happen eventually. This one, it was a good idea in that I had the key piece, but I didn't really put a lot of thought into how it was gonna sit on there. And it still has the ability to slide off, okay? This one here, a little bit more complicated. It has slid off before. I tried to hide the key piece into an image, okay? It's less likely to slide off, but you see what I mean, like because this is ceramics, it has that ability. Now this one, and this is kind of the order that I made them, so you can see how the idea, the structure changed the more that I played with it. This one here also has a key piece on the one side, goes all the way around, okay? So my suggestion might be to even have more than one. I wouldn't do more than two, but the main reason for that is to keep the lid from sliding off your piece, okay? So I'm gonna actually use the bamboo tool to do this, okay? If you'd like to use a ruler to help you gauge where in the piece it's gonna go, you can do that. I typically just eyeball it. So my lid is gonna go, let's use this side to kind of put an indentation. It's gonna go somewhere within this vicinity, okay? And this is actually gonna be where you cut the piece open. So I'm gonna make my shape. The other thing to keep in mind is you don't want, when you're making the key piece, I just thought of this, you don't want the bottom of the key piece to be larger than the top or it will not fit. So it needs to be smaller where the key piece goes back in, okay? It does not have to be a straight line all the way around in just that one part. It can dip down if you want. So I'm gonna try mine with 2 dips. And we'll see what happens here. Okay, so I'll stop for a minute and just show you up close here. So I've drawn a line all the way around my form. Okay, now that I have drawn where I want my key pieces to go on the lid, you can go ahead and start cutting out the lid. So when you do this, I'm going to use the fettling knife that I mentioned earlier. It does have a little bit of a sharp edge, so be careful when you're using it, but I'm just gonna carefully follow the edge, digging in to the clay of that one that I made. Now, if you start cutting this and you think, this clay, Miss Benatti, is still too soft, because mine does look like it's rippling a little bit when I do that, then that's completely fine. Stop and let it sit some more. Clay is a living thing and it may need more time. You don't want to force it. Especially, you'll find out when we're in the drying stages of clay. I'll talk a lot about that. But for the sake of my video, I'm gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep cutting. Just really taking my time to cut along that line as best as I can in line with what I have, okay? So you can see what I'm talking about. The clay will move a little bit when you cut that, so you just wanna be really careful. Okay, so now I think I'm about ready to open it up. I've gone all the way through. Let's see if it'll pop off. It will. Just be careful where those key pieces are. Okay, my clay is still pretty thick. That's definitely a 1/2 inch thickness there. All right. Okay, so I did it. I cut the lid. Now, before I do anything else, I'm gonna first set the lid off to the side, and I am going to go in and smooth that seam. Hopefully you can see that seam that we created when we attached the two pieces of clay. I'm gonna go in and clean that up, grab my favorite tool again. Go in and smooth the inside of my form. Now you might be saying, Miss Venati, that's the inside of the form. Why does that matter? It's gonna be enclosed. Well, when you're creating a three-dimensional form, especially something that's functional, the inside, the outside, all of that matters. So it is gonna require you to go in and really think about, you know, all parts, all angles of the piece. Okay, so this is gonna take me a while to smooth this, so we'll go ahead and put it in fast time. You can keep watching while I clean it up. All right, so I'm actually going to set mine out in the sun some more. It's still very, very soft, and I'd like it to firm up a little bit more so that I'm not altering the key pieces in the shape too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually gonna leave it sitting on top of one another. When I do this, I'm just gonna set it out in the sun like that for, we'll say for another 15 minutes. Okay, just to get it sit outside for another more 15 dry minutes. Gave it some dry time. I'm feeling pretty good about the stage of the form right now. But before I do anything else, I need to really spend some dedicated time cleaning it up. Okay, so I had mentioned that you needed to grab a rib tool, something that's like this. This one actually bends a lot. Most of them will bend, but this one it's very flexible. So we will use rib tools with hand building and also throwing, and we'll talk about that later in the trimester. Okay, but I'm gonna use the rib tool, the rounded side, to actually smooth out the outside of the form a little bit more. One good method might be to put your hand on the inside, and on the outside you use the rib. Just kind of clean it up. And the goal here is to have a really clean surface, because you're actually going to be drawing or carving into it with a tool using a technique called sgraffito. Okay. All right, so let's look at the outside a little bit more here. Outside looks pretty good. The inside and this, where the key piece is going, does need some work, so I'm just gonna go in using my fingers and smooth all this out, because anything I leave sharp, or rough I should say, will become sharp once it's fired. So though the clay is nice and soft and smooth right now, when it's put in that kiln and becomes bisqueware, it will not stay that way. So this may require you to do some cleaning up next class. The goal for this first series of videos is to get the form made with the lid cut, and the last step, which we'll do here in a moment, is the putting like a shape on top of the lid, like something to hold on to it with.